But this video is going to show you guys how to make a clay creature using 2 pinch pots. This is the one I'm going to make in this video, but I have made many different kinds, and I hope you use your creativity to create a one-of-a-kind creature of your own. To start, you're going to get 2 clay cubes. You have to pick it up and hold it and kind of pound it into a basic sphere or ball shape. I like to, when I get it closer, I like to squeeze it in my hands like this. And then to make it even more smooth in the outside, I just start rolling it in my hands. You can also roll it on your table if you want to. Once you get it really close, then go ahead and smooth out any cracks or bumps that you have. This will help make your pinch pot a lot more smooth when you're finished. Do the same thing with your other cube of clay. Now you can see that I have 2 spheres of clay that are about the same size, and I'm ready to start my pinch pot. I drill in with the tip of my thumb and then pinch. You'll notice that I'm holding it in my hand. I'm not resting it on the table. I think that helps prevent it from getting too thin on the bottom. Do the same thing to your other sphere of clay. And here I'm going to kind of match them up and make sure they're the same size. If one of yours is smaller than the other, then just pinch that one a little bit more so the sizes match. You want to tap the rim of your pinch pot on the table gently, which will flatten it and make it a lot easier for you to attach them together. Here I'm just making sure that the sizes are the same and they're going to meet up nicely. Go ahead and start to scratch or score. You do this to both pinch pots. And when you're done, you can grab the slip and start to put it all the way around the rim. You can see that I'm kind of tapping the slip on, and that's because you really don't want to smooth out all these scratches, because that's what's going to really hold these 2 pinch pots together. When you're done, get all the extra slip off your hands. You can see that I'm just actually rubbing it into my hands like it's lotion. And go ahead and put them together. You kind of want to press hard but not squish anything, but you can see that I'm kind of pushing and wiggling those together to make sure it's a really strong connection. When you're done, wipe off all this extra slip, because it makes the next step much easier if you don't have excess slip all over. It's just too slippery. Because now we're going to try to make this look like one ball of clay by smoothing this seam together. You can see I go back and forth. Working across that seam until you can't see it anymore. Here I'm just taking my time to make this sphere or egg shape of clay look really nice and smooth. What I'm doing is actually pushing some bumps down with my thumbs that I don't like. And smoothing out this top part so it has a much nicer egg looking shape to it. Looking at my sketch, you can see that this creature actually doesn't have any feet. So instead, I'm just going to tap it a few times on the table to get it a nice flat bottom so it can sit up by itself. If your creature does have feet, I would suggest that you start creating them next. Since mine doesn't, I'm moving on to making the eyes. I took off a piece of clay and kind of compared it to the size of my creature's body, and then you can see that I'm just making it to a sphere. Here I am just making sure that those two pieces of clay are about the same size because I want both my eyes to be about the same. Then I just use the palm of my hand to flatten it slightly. I don't want to make it really thin, because if it's really thin, it's going to end up being very breakable, or if it's really, really thin, it's going to be hard to see because it's not going to stick out from the body of your creature very much. Make sure to scratch and attach both eyes on if you don't want them to fall off later. So instead of scratching and attaching another piece of clay on for my mouth, I'm going to draw into it, or what we call incising. So I kind of outlined the shape of the mouth I want, and here you can see that I'm actually going to start to kind of push into it or stamp it. And if there's too much clay in the way, sometimes I kind of scoop some out. And if you have any rough edges or anything like that, you can wipe it away with your finger. If you have any slip that has kind of oozed out like I have here, you can use that sharp part of your tool to get it out of there. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on my eye a little bit more. Here I'm using a marker cap for the first circle of the eye. You can see how I kind of almost roll it in a circular fashion to stamp it. I always seem to get better results when I kind of wiggle it around like that. Here I'm just going to use the end of an old Sharpie to put this highlight part of the eye on. Now I'm going to add the ear on. Here I'm just holding this piece of clay up to my creature so I can kind of figure out how much clay I wanted to use. So to make this ear, I'm actually going to roll this to begin, and then I'm going to flatten the bottom because what I'm making is a cone. Yeah, I work on smoothing it out so it looks really nice before I go ahead and work on adding it on. I gently press down with my palm to flatten it a little bit, making sure that it doesn't get too skinny because that would make it really breakable. And then I do the same thing for the other ear. When I bent this ear over, it got a little crack, so I'm just making sure to smooth that out. Once I have the ear in position, what I'm doing right now is just tracing where I want the ear. That way I know exactly where to do my scratching and attaching. If you don't do this step, you're kind of just guessing. Now that they're on, I'm just cleaning up all this extra slip. And I'm actually going to smooth these right into the body, kind of like the way we smooth the two pinch pots together. Here I'm going to start to create the tail of my creature. And to do that, I'm just going to roll a coil. Before I make it very nice looking, what I'm doing here is checking the length. It was a little too short, so I'm going to roll it a little bit more. That looks perfect. So now I'm going to take some time to smooth this out and actually form the tail. Here I'm starting to form kind of the pointy end of the tail. Once I have it nice and smoothed out in the way that I want it, I lay it back onto my creature. And trace it again, so I know exactly where to do my scratching and attaching. Now that it's on, I'm just going to use my tool to remove some of that extra slip. Smooth out any cracks that might have appeared. And I'm actually going to smooth the base of this tail right into the body to make it look like it's coming from the body of my creature. According to my sketch, I need a little detail on my ears and tail. So I'm actually going to kind of draw this on with my tool. And when you draw in clay, sometimes it leaves kind of a jagged line. You can kind of see that little piece right there. You can use your tool or finger to kind of get rid of it or smooth it away. Sometimes kind of pushing in like you see me doing here, or it's kind of like stamping, will leave a nicer line. Use your finger to gently smooth away any jagged lines that you've left. When you think you're finished, look for anything that you might be able to make a little bit better if you have time, and go around and look for anything that might need to be smoothed out, because the next time you see this, it's going to be white and rock hard. That's going to do it for this creature. Hope you have fun making yours.